Hello there. So last time out, I wrote this code to load the database config from the environment by just grabbing 3 environment variables. It took me longer than I expected, but by the end of the episode last time I got it to work. But I wasn't super happy with the code, and it kind of bugged me over the week, so I went back and rewrote it. I'm going to rewrite it again tonight. There are a couple of things that annoy me, but one is that we have different functions for getting the environment, which returns a string, and one which returns any type A which is readable. And I couldn't get string and read to use the same function to return them both, which is a bit annoying. And then because of that, there's some repeated code coming into here, which is not great. And then this convert env repeats a little bit of code that's also up here, or relies on a bit of code up here. And it's not super. So what I'd quite like to do today is rewrite this whole thing. I've done it a couple of times in the week. I'll try and do it again. Hopefully get it right from scratch this time. But I want to use a type class for reading an environment. I'm going to use overlapping instances so that the way it reads a string is not quite the same as the way it reads other types, things which are convertible, or things which are readable, I guess. I want to do those two things. What else? So I want to make the error messages a little bit better. And I want to deal with this default thing a little bit better as well. You'll see as it goes on, but essentially when you get something which is not readable, it's a special case of getting something which you call read on, and then conversion is another special case on top of that. But we can do it all as one function. I think, well, as one function. There'll be one place which reads from the environment, and everything else just builds on top of that and gives us slightly different functionality and slightly different interfaces. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm wondering, actually, I didn't think this through, but I'm wondering about running a test as we go. Can I do that? Let's see if I can do that. So, browser window. Okay. So I look at, actually, I don't necessarily, yeah, let's go to Google. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay, so we've got lookup env. I want to reverse that, which is going to set the environment. Which is setenv, luckily. So it takes the name and the value and sets it. Okay, I think that's what I want. So if I just go to the compile file quickly, and then we should have some tests at the bottom. We do not have tests. Oh, it's going to be a long night. Okay, I can remember the syntax for this. So compile test suite. It'll be in here somewhere, hopefully it'll be an example. Test suite, here we go. Just grab that quickly, see if that works. Probably not. Okay, so test suite is going to be test payme. It's going to depend on payme. Base I can get from this import shared. Type will be that. So exit codes today are 1.0. Main will not be that. Okay, there's a couple of other things I need. I'm going to need hspec and what am I doing? Google. There's like a, actually let's look at that. So hspec discover. I think it's this I want. Not quite. There's a line I've got to add to the compile file. I think a bit bigger again. Which this line, this magic line, build tool depends. Okay, so now I can say main is spec.hs, which I'll go and grab in a second. We've got source directories. We will need to add hspec to the depends, and the other modules I'll need to add in at some point. Let's do it now. So the modules, just remind me I need to write this, and this is going to be mspec. Okay, roughly what I want. Let me say that it won't be happy. Oh, I need another line, which is this. I forgot that one. So source directories is going to be test. And now it's variables. Okay. So now we can create test/spec.hs, and then I'm going to grab the magic line that you put into there, which is this thing. And close that. Save it and close it. And then we're going to say test/mspec. I could probably do with depending on hspec as well. So I can swap these around a bit. So we also want hspec, and the version of this is going to be somewhere. Maybe not. Let's go to package and search for hspec, and it's going to be. I just realized I'm doing a lot of stuff in the browser and not sharing the browser window. There we go. You didn't miss anything exciting. I was just copying and pasting stuff from an example file and from a documentation page. Anyway, hspec. I'm going to do that. So hopefully that's going to compile okay. And mspec. Maybe, no, it's not going to do that because it's still processing. There we go. Okay. So we're going to export spec from here. And we will import hspec within a second. So we'll say spec is of type spec, and spec equals do, and something like it just works. And here I should say something like types are annoying. One, which is an int, should be we're going to say here, we can say 2, which is an int. I don't know, it should fail. So can we import this? Yes. Can we import this? Whoops. Yep. And then this one as well. There we go. Okay. So in theory, if I bring up window and say, well, test, hopefully it'll build okay. There we go. Expected one, we've got 2. So that's good. That's what I would think should happen at this point. So the type of spec. That's going to be a good question. Does spec implement lift.io? Or what are they? Where is hspec? There it is. Type hspec is spec with nothing. Spec with is specgem. And somewhere in here it's got IO. So it's a load of stuff around a reader T and IO. Great, but does that run an IO action when constructing a spec tree? This might be what I want. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so the reason I think I want this is I think I want to do an action here, which is setting something in the environment. So hopefully I can say run IO. Okay, and then this should be set env, and is woo to be something. And I can put that. Okay. So then I should be able to say, oh, that's so very red. I should be able to then just look up something in the env. So result will be something like look up env. I'm going to look up woo. I'll import that as well. Oh no. And then I should be able to say res should be, and I think it's a maybe type, so it should be just something. This is what I'm aiming for. It's really not happy at all. Spec M means I should be able to run IO, right? IO actions always run when the spec tree is constructed. If you don't need a result, for all might be more suitable. Don't know that it is, but run a custom action before the first spec item. So how does before all work? Can I say here, before all, I don't care what the answer. And then we can say set env woo and then something. Right up a second. So what's the problem here? Do I need to say spec with IO? That doesn't seem right to me. So the type of spec is spec with unit. But even unit here should say spec m a unit. So this will be spec m unit r. And run IO should take an IO action that returns an R. And then runs it under specm AR, which is specm A unit in our case. That should be okay. So it's not, I don't think it's the fact I'm using spec rather than spec with. So that should be okay. So these type names are horrible. Couldn't match spec with A0 to spec with A0 with spec M unit. Okay. IO action in its spec. Something in here about IO. They got. Is it because I'm missing the word spec? Nope. I don't think it's that. Sorry, let me just take a quick look at spec discovery. So here you write your specs. They just have this stuff. Okay. So where was I a second ago? Using hooks. So the HSpec is done for me. But you can say before this, do, and then the describe goes into there. Oops, got an error there. So I could say something like it's it sets and then var. And then here I can say, oh, I'm going to do inside here as well. So we should have put something into the environment, and then we can say result is lookup env of woo, and then result should be just something. That's what I think. Okay, let me put that in. I'm no longer using run.io. For all, why did they write it? A bit bigger. So you got before underscore, do the thing. Before all should be very similar. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So for this. Right, okay. Okay, so before I be spec, I'm going to set some environment. Have they got an around? Because I want to unset it as well. Yes. So around should take two things. With stubs API. Around is passing an IO action for each spec item, so you can perform whatever setup and teardown is necessary. So the action, oh, I see these brackets. So bracket says do this, then run this action, then ensure that this is run. So even if this throws an exception, do this. Right. So I could say something like with env, and then with env is bracket, we will set the env here, and then we will unset it here. It's a little bit dangerous because it already was set. I'm going to trample on it. And then we have an action. And then we should put in bracket, control exception. What was their stop server? Stop server goes with server. Is there a variant on bracket that's that? Yes, okay, getting better. Okay, and then what's the hint here? Reduce it. Right. Do I want it in base or is it there? It's there. Okay, cool. So what I should then be able to say is around with env, and then I can add that and then get rid of this. Order the inputs. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to get to the point where I can run a test. Oh, hey Tim, sorry, I didn't notice you joined. Trying to get to the point where I can run a test that sets an environment variable, does something with it, and then clears up afterwards, tidies up afterwards, so it's not set for the next test. So compile test. There we go. Okay, so if I say look at a different thing, like not here, and run that, that should fail. Yeah, okay, so expect to do something, we've got nothing because that was not set, and likewise if I set woo, but it should be something else. Okay, all of that. So I can now start to write a helper called test. Yeah, maybe actually this should be slightly better. No, it's fine. It is not super safe because it's going to trample on environment variables. So if woo was already set, then it's not going to work. Well, it's going to be dangerous, basically, a little side effect. But I'm okay with that for this test. So we can say name and value. And then here we can say name and value. And then we can just say name. Is there an unset env, I wonder actually? So it's going to go string to that. Quickly look and see if there's an unset env. Yes, there's an unset env, so it's even better. Import that, and then we can say with env woo and something. A few brackets there. Then initially we'll run this and it'll fail again, but it'll fail because it got something, expected something else, which is cool. And then if I change this to be something, it'll work. But I'm not going to test that because it's very boring. Right, Cabal. Okay, back in my library here, I'm going to create a new module called env and start to put some stuff into there to do with getting stuff out of the environment. And then I'll eventually put it into the config. So if I go source env.hs, oh, one there, source env.hs, there we go. Give it a second. No collection available, not that. Why isn't working? Okay. We'll export some stuff in a second. Right. So I have something called env, and what I want people to do is call something in there called get, I think. And that should return something from the environment in the correct type, or an exception using either. If it's not present or it can't be converted. And then I also want another helper, which is like get default, which will, it's not something called get default, which will read the try and get from environment. If it's not set in the environment, it'll default it. But if it is set in the environment and it's invalid, it gives you back the error. Those are the various cases I want. But I'm going to do this in the type class because I'm going to do a couple of implementations, one for string and one for readable things. So I'm going to call this something like getenv. It's going to take an A where, and we'll start with a single function here called get, and that is going to take a name. It's going to take a string, just the name of the environment variable, and it's going to return an A. So an implementation of get for string and an implementation of get for everything else which is readable. And we will export that class. Okay. Back to test. Don't know why it's upset, and also the dance mode has got stuck in input again. Should work out why that's happening. Okay. Why did it fail to run that? So it should be okay again. It's just the LSP is not caught up. Hopefully. Okay, instead of saying lookup env, we're going to say env.get, and it's not going to be. Now, can we import this? Import qualified env. There we go. And then it should be. Oh, that's the thing. Actually, I said it returns an A, but it doesn't. It returns. It's going to return either some error, which I think. Let's do an env error. Or an A. Let's write env error. And this is going to be, so a missing variable, because it's already in env, so I'm going to say missing env variable. And it's going to have a string, which is the name of the environment variable that's not present, the one you're trying to get, or an invalid variable, invalid value, and that's going to be initially string to string. Hopefully we come back to this later and have it type rep string so that we can print out what the type should be. And this is going to be deriving stock show and equal. Okay, so now it should be write something. I'm going to some brackets here, so it's going to be write something of type either. I need to export env error now. Either env error or string. Or string. Let's do that. Let me just call this error because it's in the package called env. Okay, so it's going to be either env error or a string. Okay. Where have we gone wrong now? Let me get this for a second. It sets an env, we get result back. And the result should be this thing. env.get takes a string to that. Okay, hopefully it should be upset because we haven't actually implemented it yet. But I don't see why. I don't understand this error. So it couldn't match either env or unit with unit. I'm very confused by that. So env.get does take a string and returns this. So in theory, does this work today? I didn't come back and fix it. I should be able to say get and evaluate it. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Right? There's no instance of getM for some arbitrary type, for any type at all. There are no instances whatsoever, so it's never going to satisfy this. That's kind of what I would expect to say here, but it's not what it's saying. But I wonder if the actual error is lost in the magic that is HSpec, or if there is a different error going on here. We could jump and find out, I guess. So here we can say it might be the do block. I don't think it is the do block. I'll show you one second. So it reads a string, it gets a string. What we're aiming for. Okay, I don't need to do block because I think if I replace this with lookup env and then import that. Okay, the type here doesn't match because it's a maybe. It's not maybe, sorry, it's maybe type, but it'll be just something. So that's not giving me an error back. It's when I change it to use env.get, now I get this whole big error back where it's saying can't match this thing with this other thing. And it really, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think the error I'm getting back is the error I want. I think the actual error is I don't have any instances of this, so it can't ever work. But let's find out by implementing it quickly. So we can say instance getEnv of string, where get so get here will take a name, and we can say, I'll use a do block in here, we can say, don't think I need a do block actually. You can say case lookup env name of, and then if it's just X, then we can say write X. And if it's nothing, then we can say missing variable and the name. So import that. I do need a do block, that's right, because it all runs under IO. So we can say V comes from lookup env of name, and then case B of that. Okay, and we're getting closer, but it's going to be pure of that. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I understand the error now. So this has to run under IO. Right. Quite a lot going there. Okay, so first of all, because this runs under IO, I just need to fix that type because I can't call lookup env outside of IO. So now we need an extra pure here to put it back into IO when we return the result. And then I missed stuff to the left here. But essentially, if you're trying to call get for a string, it should just run this code. And it has magically made this go away, which is good. I don't know if it's because missing the IO that caused the problem. I think it probably was, but I'm not certain. Or it could also have been that I didn't have an instance of this. I actually suspect it wasn't. I think it's because of missing the IO. That's my curiosity. It's going to get the better of me. Yeah. That's the error I wanted, I think. There we go. No instance of getEm string. That's where I wanted to be. So it's because I was missing the IO. This line made no sense to the compiler. Right. Okay, so now we should be able to get a string back. So I run this. It passes. Cool. Okay, so I can now look up a string calling m.get. Now let's do something a little bit funkier. So it gets an int value. So we can say res is m.get that thing. Almost. Okay, I need a different thing in the environment. So let's put the value 1 into the environment. So we'll get it back. And then we can say res should be right of 1 of type. I need to get a type, we'll work it out. Can't work it out. Okay, so either m.error or int. And now we get no instance for int. Okay. And this is where we get a little bit more interesting. Okay, the reason we have a class is so that we can define another instance, but for everything else that's readable. So I'm actually going to take this piece of code and share it. So we can say get is get prime. We decide a bit, and we can say get prime here, and then add that signature. Okay, and then we can say instance, and what we really want is everything else. So if for any readable thing, we want to say oops, sorry, I'm missing a bit of syntax. For any readable thing in this expression, I want to say get is equal to, first thing we do is we get our value back, and then we want to convert it. So we just call read on the thing that we get back. Okay, and now it says perhaps you need to use undecidable instances, and this is because there are two implementations of getEm which overlap. I think that's my understanding of it at the minute. Okay, we need a little bit more, so we can call get prime here. So we'll need to capture the name. And now we do this on B, but then we can say pure of that. This is a bit of noise because This runs in IO and also returns an either. And this thing, well, I'm lifting read into V. I want to lift it into the either type, not lift it into the IO type. So this is just a nicer way of getting this to run under IO, give me back the result of running under IO, then apply read to that result. Okay, should have been an error in the test. Yes, okay, good. So now this doesn't work because of overlapping instances. Basically, because it's undecidable, there are two things that could match as the instance for this. It could match getEnv A, or it could match getEnv string, because A is also readable. I wish it would just default to the most specific type, but it doesn't. However, I can say, if I can remember the syntax for this, is that it? Or is it the way around? I think it's that way around. And overlapping. And no, that. And that should make it go away. Basically saying what I wanted it to do, which is use this more specific instance if you can, and if not, fall back to using this. I think you can also say overlapped for this one, which is the other way of specifying the same thing. That's where I want to be. Okay, so in theory, you should be able to call get woo as an integer or get woo as a string. And it should do the right thing. Let's see if it works. It says it gets a string value. That's annoying. Okay, I think it's not running it because of this multiple rounds. So let me put the value 1 as a string. So if you get it back as a string, you just get the string value, and if you get it as an int, you get it here. Cool. Okay, that now works. So that's nice. Right. Next thing is errors. I really need to sort my around because I want different conditions for different tests. Maybe I do want to run IO. Can I say run IO? What was this type of run IO again? I forget now. Run IO. Given some IO action. So runs IO action while constructing it. It's not really what I want. I kind of want to. Let me just try to run IO here. So run IO of setEnv woo and 1 do, and then these things. It's not right, is it? I'm assuming I can't just do it. Oh, I could try importing it first. No. Because I don't really understand how to use run IO. I just want an action. I want to call an action which is different for each step. So this will run the same action before every spec item, which is not what I want. Okay, I take it. I could just call it, couldn't I? Because we do have access to IO here. Yeah. Don't need this nonsense. Okay. So I can get rid of that. And then, in theory, can I call bracket here? difficult. And then got another argument here, which is unset env. Woo. Okay, I can do that. So in theory, I can use my helper again. Guess I could just pass in this do, maybe. So we could say with env woo and 1 2. No. I'm missing a dollar. Yeah, okay. That's probably a better way of doing it. So I can set a different env value for each spec. Oops, I think that outdented. Okay. Okay, that works. Okay, it's going to make it a lot easier to write things that fail. So describe with a missing envar. We're running out of time a little bit. Trying to speed up. So with env, no, not even with env, without env. So it should be left woo. So with a missing envar, it returns an error. Import that. It's not woo, it's going to be left of missing variable. Missing variable? Oh, it's in a qualified module, so it's env.that. Is it even? Did I export that? I did not. Let's try exporting the constructors for this as well, so I can match on them. There we go. Okay. So when we try and get something that's not set, then we should get missing variable as an error. And actually, I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to do it for it returns an error when getting a string. And I'll do the same thing for getting another type. So I'm getting a string, and I'm getting an int. These will be the same implementation, it's just making sure that both instances of get return the same error. But actually it's going to be very obvious that the implementation does that. So that was just this case. Okay. Right. So we can read a thing. I'm just thinking that you can make it slightly shorter. I don't know if it's worth doing or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you can write something which goes an int. Thank you. Can't have typos in there. Right, I'm going to write a function which modifies the thing it finds. So I'm going to say some function which goes from string to A and pass that in, and if we match something, we will return right of applying that function to the thing that we read. And now we won't return a string, we'll return an A. Okay, so now this will be get ID, and this will be get read name, and then we can get rid of that, and then we can get rid of this, and then we can either reduce it. Don't know if it's better or not, but we can pass an ID as a kind of don't do any change to it, and get read as the get this thing and like read to it and convert it into something, and just check that it hasn't broken anything, but it should be good. Ooh, okay, right, some more errors. Yeah, let's do some more errors, because getting with default is not that exciting. So, describe with an invalid value. And what I want here is returns an error. It returns an error. So I do want to set it environment, but I don't want to set it to something which is a valid integer. I want to set it to, let's say, not an integer. And then we don't want missing value, we want invalid value. And it won't be woo, well, in fact it will be woo, but it will also be not an integer. Okay, so we're going to try and get it back as an int, but we're going to set something which is not readable into an int, and we're going to check that we get an invalid value coming back. And that should not work because I haven't implemented it yet. Okay, cool. So it just crashes at the minute. Okay, so what are we going to do with read? There's a thing called read maybe. I think I might have used this last time. And I can put up in text read. I will replace this in a second, but read maybe will return if I make this a bit longer, but it'll return a nothing if the read failed, and it'll return just X if the read succeeds. So we'll leave the name here. In fact, let me just do it slightly differently. This is our implementation before, but I'm going to replace read with something that takes this result and no, sorry, I'm going to replace it with something that goes here that I pass in instead of read. It'll take a string, call read on it, and if it can't read it, it'll return the correct type of error. If that makes sense. So I'm going to call it convert. In fact, let me see if we can just work out types for me. Not quite, no. Okay. So it's going to be given a string value, and that will only happen if it's set, right? If it's not set, it won't. If it's not set, it'll hit this branch and we'll still return missing variable. But if it is set, we'll run convert on the value we got back. So here, given some string, we can say case read maybe v of, and if it's nothing, this is where we want to say This is very annoying because we're missing the name. So I'm going to inline it here. And I'm going to say name here. Just because I want access to it when I'm generating the error. And I can't put a where clause into an instance. That's very annoying. It's mildly annoying. Okay, I'll do that. I'm going to need next piece of information, which is the name of the variable. So it's going to be convert name. Quite irritating. Okay, so in here we've got the name of the environment variable and the value that we read, if we read anything. And if we try and convert it to whatever A is and it doesn't work, we get nothing back. And in that case, this gets more complicated. So we want to, this conversion thing will now need to return an either. Either going to return an error or an A. So up here, this will also be either an error or an A. And in the case of nothing, now we can return an invalid value. Name and B. And this will be a left value. Okay, and if we get just X, then this is going to be right of X. And this is not going to be right anymore, it's going to be whatever that returns. And now ID doesn't make sense, but actually we don't want to do anything, so we just pass in right. So this thing is saying we don't, if we get a value back, just return it as a successful case, is what the right is doing. You can also pass in pure, but that would be even more confusing, I think. But in the case of convert here, what we're saying is if we got a value back, try reading it. If you can read it, so if you can convert this to the other type, just return it. Otherwise, let's swap it around. Otherwise, it's an error and it's an invalid value error, not a missing variable name error. Run that. Okay, so that works. That's all cool. There's one more case, but it's not one more case. There's something that's bugging me about this. And this is that I really want to know what type the error is. So if you imagine bringing out some error message when you run it, in fact, let's do it here, let's do it in line. Just to the bottom, should be fine. So we would say get woo as either an error or an int. Can I evaluate that? Merge that with IO that. Okay. So IO of that. Try it again. Okay. So missing a variable called that. So let's get home. Is that set? Yes, there we go. Okay. So invalid value home John, but it doesn't tell you what the value should be. So if you're trying to print out some kind of error message when you can't read an environment variable, you're probably going to say, tried to read home, it's invalid, you gave me this, but it should have been an int. And getting that int into there gets a little bit interesting. Or at least it takes me into places, bits of Haskell that I'm even less comfortable with. So my invalid value, let me just move to another line because it's going to get a little bit longer. It's going to be a type rep or a string. It's a type rep, and then the name of the thing you're looking up, and okay, it's going to be the type that it's supposed to be, the name of the thing you're looking up, and the value that you got that was not convertible. It's not actually going to be a type rep, it's going to be some type rep. Is that right? This is the very polymorphic way of representing some kind of type. And now I've got to try and remember how to do this. And I remember a thing from when I did this before, that splitting out, splitting out convert into its own function is problematic. Because we lose access to a type somewhere. I think we lose access to A. I can't remember, but I do remember it being problematic when I did it before. So I'll give it a go, but it might not work. Right. I'm going to do it in line because then any errors I get will be with my implementation, not because it's not going to work. Okay, so we can say V is that, and hopefully we just grab the rest of this. Then how would I pass this in if I can't use where? I did this before. Not quite sure how I did it before. Let me see if I can just make it work. And if I can't work it out, then I'll go and I'll look up the code I wrote last time, see how I did it. Right, to get to type rep, so I'm going to some type rep. So some type rep has got a constructor called some type rep, and it takes proxy A and gives me back some type rep. And proxy A, this proxy is very funny. I can just call proxy and then the name of the type, or well, I can call proxy. Get myself in a tangle here because I only vaguely understand this. I will say some type rep here. Let me import it out. Okay, it's going to take argument, which is proxy, which I'm going to put from data proxy, of type proxy of A. And I can't work it out inside here. So I want to kind of, to do here. I could simplify this. I think that putting it into this instance, the compiler's enough information to say, I know how to work this out. Oh, hang on. It tells me it's missing typable. So that's a good start. Let's do that. And that should come from reflection. And also here, okay, we're getting slightly, no, we're getting closer. No, I did remember this error from before. Where he's doing it up here worked. So let me make this a bit dumber again. This is going to be right of that. This is going to be ID. And this is going to be read maybe. So this should now give me back something of type string to maybe A. And read maybe doesn't take an argument. Where's the actual error? Oh, it's still an error down there. Ah, weird. Passing read maybe in there doesn't work. Okay, let me write this out long form again. Maybe I tried to shrink it down before I was ready. Okay, so we'll say v is get. So we now have either some error or some value. And then I can just say case v of, and if it's left of error, I'll just return that error. There's a nice way of writing this, but I just want to get it kind of sketched out first. I'll use name in there. And this is all under IO. So just a computer at this point. Okay, and if you get right at some value, then we want to do the conversion thing. So I should be able to say this. And now we've got multiple V's. I'll call it X. Oh goodness. I'll call this one X prime. So I'll do that for a second. And then this is X or V or name or V. What's going on here? Get rid of that error for start. Right of X. Right of X. So it's got a bit funny. Couldn't match A with actual type string. Oh, that's weird. I'll just get rid of this for a second. And go back to the point where this works. So we're given a string, which is the name. If we get something back, then we just return it. Oh, that's why, sorry. Because that's no longer, I haven't told what A is. Okay. So now the error we have here is couldn't match type either error string with character. The third argument of invalid value. Invalid value. Where is that gone? Here, invalid value. There's some type rep and the string and the string. Some type rep here says for all proxies, let's just leave it as some kind. If A is typeable, then we go proxy A to some type rep. So I think, let me just do this in stages so I can check the types along the way. I think I should say this type rep is some type rep. It's not running under IO. So let T equal that. Some type rep of proxy of type proxy A. And what's the type of T? Type of T is some type rep. Right, so that would be the same thing. So some with V. Okay. It says here the type of V is, oh yeah, it's X. Sorry, X is the value that comes out of there. Right. That makes some sense, I think. Because V is the either type. X is as matching the value inside it. Right. So can we just put that back in there? We don't need a variable for T. Okay. So now, in theory, if I run this, refresh this, there we go. It's told me it's an int. And if I try and get it back as a double, it now says it's a double. Cool. And then that's showable as well. There's a show instance for some type rep, which means you can print it out, which is cool. So in the spec, this no longer works. It's an invalid value, but I actually want to say some type rep. Can I say this at int? No, I can't. Well, for a start, I haven't imported it, but I don't think I can do it with type annotation because I think it has to take a proxy. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay. So this needs to take a proxy of type proxy int. I need to import this, and then this. I got it right. Okay, cool. So now it's getting a bit long, but basically we're saying we should get an invalid value. It should tell me what the type is. It's an int. Give me the name of the variable we're looking up, and it should give me the value that doesn't match or that doesn't work. Okay, all that. I haven't done defaults. I'm running out of time, but the basic idea is in config I can use env now. So I could say env.get like that. Couldn't match env config. Okay, the errors are wrong here. They don't line up. And what was my config error? Missing env var and valid env var. Okay, so I can just set this to be env.error, and then these will be wrong because we did the default. Let me do the default really quickly. Describe get with default. So it returns the value in the set. It returns the default when env is not set. The env variable is not set, and it returns an error if mvar is invalid. Okay, so first one, you're going to set it. I'll make it an integer, and then we'll get it. And then we'll say it should be, get rid of these, it should be right of 10. It's not going to be get, it's going to be get default. Oh, let's put it as 20. Okay, when it's not set, it should be right 20. And then for the invalid case, there, let me just put dollar into there. So we're going to call get default. Okay, because if you set an environment but it's not a valid thing, I don't want to suddenly swap it out for a default. I want it to error. Right, back to my class. So get default has got type of A to string to A. Right, okay, now I want to give a default implementation. So I can say get default of the default value or some name is, and I'm going to have to put some restrictions on a little bit, but anyway, essentially you say get A, and then you get some V back, which is going to be either an error or an A, and you can say case V of. Now, if it's some value, we just use it. So it's not get A, it's get name. Oh, this is not A, so it's either error or A. And I'm going to need the pure because this is all running under IO. Okay, so if it's successful, we try and get the name, and it's successful, we just return it. No problem there. If it is left of missing variable, and then the name, we don't care what the name is, this is where we use the default. Right, so if you try to load it from the environment, but it's not set at all, we return the default. If anything else, so this is going to be some kind of error, we just return it. I thought I needed to add a restriction on A, but it turns out I don't. I thought I needed a type class restriction to say that A has to be gettable, but it seems to be clever to say if you're in this class, then it must implement get as well. It already knows that. That looks okay. So if I go back to here, will it just run? Probably not. Oh, of course it won't run. Oh, we're getting closer. Okay. So return state in variable is not set is the problematic case. It's because I set the environment. Return to default when the envar is not set. Okay, that did work. It's stupid test writing. Okay, so back in the config, this can now be env.getDefault that, and this can be env.getDefault that. The repeated prefix I'm not going to fix now. Just put it back in here. So I can then get rid of this prefix because it's not used anymore. And then everything else in the file can go, I think. And then get rid of these. One last thing, this annoys me a little bit. I'm just going to move this up to here. Can I move up there? I cannot. Ah, yes. I can't because it's under IO. I want to apply it to the either env config, but I can't because this will be IO either error or thing. Okay, I'll just leave it at that for now because I'm totally out of time. But essentially, it's a lot more code. Is it a lot more code? That's tests. Of course, it's a lot more code. It's probably more code, I think, but I think it's better code. I like the fact that there's one implementation of get. Look at this code. There's one implementation of get. There's one function you call to get something at the environment. It doesn't matter whether you're getting a string or whether you're getting something else. We have implementations for everything. And the get default. I mean, there are nice ways of writing this if I wasn't trying to write it quite so quickly. But essentially, it's very easy to write this thing. It's just a little bit annoying that it's kind of coupled with the meaning of this error, but it's in the same module, so I'm okay with that. So yeah, there we go. A rewrite of getting things out of the environment in a way that makes me slightly happier, and I learn a bit about overlapping, and learn a little bit about type reps, or some type rep, so we can get the name back out again. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for watching along. Next week, I really probably maybe will go and look at an effects algebra, look at something like effectful. Or maybe I'll get distracted. We'll find out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully see you next week. And goodbye.